Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. Mothers and fathers have sung these songs to their children for generations. Kid songs like Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo and Baa Black Sheep. But have you ever thought about their origins? Have you really thought about the words? What messages are we sending to our kids through these seemingly innocuous tunes? Up next on Another View, nursery rhymes and racist messages we are unwittingly passing on to a new generation. We start our Race Let's Talk About It conversation through song. An interesting way to look at race. Stay tuned. Another View is next.
Discussing today's topics from an African American perspective, this is Another View.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. Let me invite you to join us for our next Race Let's Talk About It Town Hall. It's tomorrow, Saturday, March 2nd, from 1 until 4 at Zeider's American Dream Theater in Virginia Beach. Now, it's free and open to everyone, but we ask that you please register at whro.org/events. And I will tell you, we're going to be in the small studio there or small theater there, and it is filling up fast. So if you want to come and participate, now is the time to go to whro.org/events and register, and we hope that we'll see you there. We're looking at the issue of race through songs that are familiar to us all, but when you peel back the true meanings of the words, you may be surprised at the racist language we are passing on to the next generation. We start the conversation today with an outstanding panel of performers and historians. Please welcome to Another View, Sibel Galindez, performer and community liaison with Zeider's American Dream Theater. Hello, Sibel. How are you?
Hi, Barbara. Thanks for having me on today.
Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Singer-songwriter Teddy Holmes. Hey, Teddy.
Hey.
How are you?
Good.
Can't
it's so
wait
good
to
be
see
here.
you perform tomorrow. That's going to be great. Historian and law professor Dr. Eric Claville. We know Eric. How are you?
Good to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. Haven't seen you in a while. And assistant professor of history and interdisciplinary studies at Norfolk State University. Welcome, Dr. Janira Teague.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Good. Thank you so much. So I'm going to start the conversation talking about, first let me do this, a disclaimer to our audience. We are going to be talking about some really disturbing lyrics in this show. So I just want to give you a heads up that when we are describing the songs, we're going to read the lyrics as they were originally written. So just be ready. You will hear the N-word, okay? I just want to give everybody a heads up on that. But I want to talk about a song called Shortening Bread because I remember very vividly sitting my daughter Tiffany on my lap and singing that song to her. Only the refrain, Mama's, and I would say, Mama's little baby loves shortening. Mama's little baby loves shortening bread. We have that song, and we have the song in its iteration today. Let's listen to that version.
Mammy's little baby loves shortening. Mammy's little baby loves shortening bread. Two little children lying in bed. One of them sick and the other most dead. Call for the doctor and the doctor said, feed them children on shortening bread. Mammy's little baby loves shortening. Mammy's little baby loves shortening bread. Mammy's little baby loves shortening. Mammy's little baby loves shortening bread. Go to the kitchen and put on the lid. Put on the skillet for shortening bread. Shortening bread and it baked in always makes them children grin. Mammy's little baby loves shortening. Mammy's little baby loves shortening bread. Mammy's little baby loves shortening. Mammy's little baby loves shortening bread.
Now, as I said, I remember singing the refrain, Mama, we would say, Mama's little baby loves shortening. But the original song was written by a man by the name of James Whitcomb Riley in 1900. And the original lyrics are, two little niggers lying in the bed, one of them sick and the other most dead. Call for the doctor and the doctor said, Feed them darkies on shortening bread. Mammy's little baby loves shortening. Mammy's little baby loves shortening bread. So when you think about the fact that Black parents are singing a song that we think is innocuous to our children, and yet this is what truly that song means. What does that say to you, Eric? Let me start with you.
Well, you have to put these things into context: time, place, manner, circumstance. In that time and place in our country's history, it was commonplace to utilize African Americans as the pawns of every joke, as being less than in human society, and basically kicked around. I mean, that was commonplace in society. So when that song was written and people were singing it, it was not anything thought of to be, oh, this is very bad. Very similar to songs that were written by Native Americans. The language that was spoken about them, that was very discriminatory and racist as well, which still happens today. So in that time and place and manner, it was acceptable. Now, moving forward, we understand the transgressions of our faults and our shortcomings and our wrongs and our sins. And we have to deal with that earnestly and honestly in today's time. In order to do that, we have to give those lyrics and read them just like you read them. We have to look at what took place at that time period, what was accepted, what was not. And we have to say, hey, we were wrong. And we have to move forward.
And Dr. Teague, this plays into a very relevant conversation today, though, because of the whole controversy about blackface and about minstrel shows.
Yes. Yeah, there's such an ugly history in this country with minstrel shows.
Mic up a little bit.
With minstrel shows and blackface. And it was always used to degrade and to dehumanize African Americans. And I think the professor's correct. We need to get to a place where we're having these very hard, very difficult conversations about what that actually meant and how do we deal with them today in today's society.
Do me a favor, because I have heard people say, I don't understand what blackface was or what a minstrel show is. Can you explain to our audience what was that show about?
Yeah, it was a caricature. Starting in the 1830s, these were characters where white people used to darken their face and act out or characterize Black people. And they were always characterized in these sort of dehumanizing, degrading, they're lazy, even overtly sexualized Black human beings. And they were performed, and they would perform in this blackface. And it's also something that we associate with Jim Crow, with segregation in the South. And they're performed in Jim Crow America. There was just such a ugly history to it. There was nothing positive.
And actually, there was one character that was kind of northern urban. He was Zoot. Zoot, I think was
Zip
his name.
Coon,
Zip
I
Coon.
think was
Zip
his
Coon,
name.
yes. And then the other one was Jim Crow, which
that was
who
the
we're very
lyric.
familiar with.
Yeah.
So Teddy and Sibel, you guys came to us a while ago, and you had this idea about songs and about lyrics and how they play into the racial conversation. Sibel, tell us, how did that come about? Why are we doing this?
Sure. Thanks so much, Barbara. And thank you being open to our idea. So what happened was I was listening to our NPR station, WHRO, and I heard a program of an African-American opera singer telling his story, Ryan Speedo Green. He happens to be from this area. And he
Governor's
told
School for the
the
Arts
Governor's School for the
graduate,
Arts. He told a story that he recounts in a biography about him, Sing for Your Life, a story of race, music, and family. But I had only caught this one segment, and he was talking about being at a party where after he performed his aria for this group of people, group of white people, then they asked him to sing Old Man River. And I grew up with that song. I love musical theater, and I know that song, and I've heard countless singers sing it. This was the first time I heard what those lyrics were really saying, because this man brought that to my attention. He said, I don't want to sing that song. It is demeaning. It is degrading. It is just depicting me, as you were saying, Doctor, in this light of being less than. And I just stopped and I really listened and I kept listening.
Now, it's because our radio
Yes.
audience can't see you, you are not African American.
Correct. I am not African American. Thank you for clarifying that. Yes. And so I reached, and I'm an artist. So I reached out to the closest being next to me, this beautiful African American artist, Teddy Holmes, sitting next to me. And I said, Teddy, I heard this story. Can we talk about this? Can we talk about song and maybe exploring this through a musical review or a cabaret to explore songs that we may love in some other part of our being, but that are really perpetuating this racist stereotype. And he was kind enough to sit down with me and be so open-hearted and kind and talk about it in this artistic way. And we had these great conversations. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Teddy?
Yeah, and our process has been 2 years of just talking, having a conversation, that needs to be had. I informed right now. I will say that it's not a person's duty, an African American person's duty, to just inform everything. Like, all right, I'm giving you all the research. Sibel did a lot of research, and she came with great questions, and I was able to share my experience and take that into account. And not only were we able to create a show from it, a song list, songs that we know today that are popular.
Some of which you will perform tomorrow during our conversation. Our town hall is going to be very different from our normal town halls because we'll actually have performance by Sibel Galindez and Teddy Holmes, and I'm excited about seeing and hearing that. But it will bring some things to light in terms of what we're talking about.
Very much so.
So this process for the two of you, because people say a lot, either. You guys always talk about race, and so you need to stop talking about race because if you stop talking about it, then things will get better. Or we need to talk about it because if we can get together on a one-on-one basis, we can start to make a change. That's right. Is that what happened for the two of you?
Exactly.
I feel like it is. I vote for the second version that you just put out there, Barbara, because, I will admit as a white person, and I don't want to... I want to learn. I want to educate myself, and I that's all I'm about here. And I'm ready to listen and learn because we can't move forward until we learn and look at our whole American history. The ugly parts too.
Go ahead,
I think that's so
Janira.
important because you said, and let's look at all of American history. And one reason a lot of people don't like to talk about race is people sometimes think, we've gone beyond racism. We're not dealing with a lot of racism in today's America, or they want to connect it to slavery. And they said, slavery happened so long ago. Well, slavery was a while ago, but Reconstruction was horrible. The Jim Crow South was horrible. The periods that we've engaged in after slavery were still times that we were dealing with racism in this country.
Charlottesville was horrible.
Charlottesville was horrible, right?
It's not like
we're
it's
not
over.
removed, right? So we're not removed from it, Yeah.
Absolutely, and that's why we have to talk about it.
People are comfortable in their ignorance, and it's like, ignorance is bliss, Moving on.
Well, let's look at another song because this was just... All right, Lisa, let's try. Play this tune. It's called the Ice Cream Song. Can you play that for us? Now, every kid, think about it, when you were growing up too, as soon as you heard that, what did you do? You ran to mama and daddy and said, can I have some money for some ice cream, right? And most people think of it as either turkey and straw or, what was the other? Yeah, or Do Your Ears Hang Low? But the original title of the song is Nigger Love a Watermelon, Ha Ha Ha. That's what the song was. It was released in March of 1916 by Columbia Records, written by actor Harry C. Brown, and played on a familiar depiction of black folks as mindless beasts of burden, greedily devouring slices of watermelon. Eric.
Yeah. Again.
He's just like, yep.
Time, place, and manner, circumstance. Okay. To piggyback on the comments prior, racism in America, slavery is America's original sin. that we have not atoned for. Anytime you don't atone for sin, it just gets worse, okay? And you have to deal with it. Now, you could roll it back by appeasing the actual symptoms that arise from those original sins, but until you actually deal with it, you cannot move past it. So, case in point, there is a real tangible advantage that white Americans receive in America because of the discriminatory laws and public policy against people of color, and also Native Americans, also the original Chinese that came to build the railroads, and every other immigrant that could not trace their roots back to Europe, and after one or two generations dilute that history and become white Americans, that they receive that everyone else does not. It just is. The law and the history speaks to that, and you can't deny it. To deal with that, and as you were saying, Professor, earlier, post-Reconstruction that's the remnant and the laws that we deal with today that we still struggle with. 100 years of segregation and Jim Crow, jumping Jim Crow, okay, are the laws that we still struggle with, and the ills of society of African Americans and the advantages of white Americans. We could talk about, we're not going to talk about it now, but when you look at whether it be life insurance, where African Americans couldn't buy life insurance until very recently. We're talking 65, 70 years ago. Not burial policies, but life insurance to leave a legacy. Redlining, okay, where you could not live out of a certain district or even open a business in a district. Being shut out from business loans, being shut out from employment opportunities until after the 1960s. All of this plays back into the stereotype and the imagery of African Americans that were perpetuated by these songs that were rubber stamped by Hollywood, rubber stamped by the music industry, and also rubber stamped by the laws of our Congress, states, and localities.
Speaking of that, we have a Bugs Bunny singing.
Oh man, I think I know the one you're talking
singing Jimmy Crack Corn, right? Jimmy Crack Corn. Let's listen.
When I was young, I used to wait on master and hand him his plate, and pass the bottle when he got dry, and brush away the blue-tail fly. Jimmy Crack Corn and I don't care, Jimmy Crack Corn and I don't care, Jimmy Crack Corn and I don't care, my master's gone away. And when he'd ride in the afternoon, I'd follow after with a hickory broom, the pony being rather shy. When bitten by the blue-tail fly, Jimmy Crack Corn and I don't care, Jimmy Crack Corn and I don't care, Jimmy Crack Corn and I don't care, my master's gone away. One day he ride around the farm, the flies so numerous they did swarm. One chance to bite him on the thigh, the devil take the blue-tail fly, Jimmy Crack Corn and I don't care, Jimmy Crack Corn and I don't care, Jimmy Crack Corn and I don't care, my master's gone away. The pony run, he jump, he pitch.
So that's Bugs Bunny. I mean, who every American kid, that had a television watched Bugs Bunny, and yet they thought that was okay. Janira.
Yeah, and I just think of what does this do to the psyche of African Americans and to African American children. And I often think about Kenneth Clark and the doll experiment. And when they show black children a black doll, the doll is ugly. The doll's not intelligent. If you show them the white doll, that's the doll that's smart and the doll they want to associate with. And I think that's what we're dealing with, the effects, a very real way that this affects the psyches of young black children. And you talked about the laws, and it affects in the laws in every aspect of our lives, but also just has such a dehumanizing, degrading effect on how black children see themselves in this society that perpetuates.
And so this Jimmy Crack Corn was also known as the Blue-tail Fly. It was originally written in 1846, and it's about a slave whose master has passed away. So in the tune, the slave is conveying that he can now drink as much corn whiskey as he desires. He comes across as uneducated, unmotivated, and inferior. And the lyrics, in case you couldn't hear it from the song, so it's when I was young, I used to wait on massa and hand him the plate. Pass down the bottle when he get dry, and brush away the blue-tail fly. Jimmy Crackhorn and I don't care. Jimmy Crackhorn, I don't care. Jimmy Crackhorn, I don't care. Old massa gone away. You know, and so the whole idea of when I really started researching this and looking into it and thinking about as a parent growing up and singing these songs to my daughter, and my daughter singing them to her daughter, and you know, and my mom singing it to me. I mean, it just, we're perpetuating something that we don't even understand that we're doing going forward. Everybody's nodding yes.
I'm thinking of word
Sibel.
unwitting indoctrination. That is what I'm feeling angry about. And we're going to have another song tomorrow that I feel an affront from too. In the same way you're talking about, Barbara, unwitting indoctrination. That's not fair. That's not right.
Now, there's another song, and this isn't even a children's song, but it is now characterized as the Virginia State Song Emeritus. Now, it became Emeritus in 1997. I want to play some of the song for you first, and then we want to talk about Carry Me Back to Old Virginia, which was our state song here in Virginia. And you listen to those words, and then I want to get the reaction from Doug Wilder when he first heard the song. So let's play the song first.
Carry me back to old Virginia. There's where the cotton and the corn and taters grow. There's where the birds warble sweet in the springtime. There's where the old darkest heart am long to go. There's where I labored so hard for old massa, day after day in the field of yellow corn. No place on earth do I love more sincerely than old Virginia, the state where I was born. Carry me back to old Virginia. There let me live till I wither and decay. Long by the old dismal swamp have I wandered. There's where this old darkest life will pass away. Master and Mrs. have long gone before me. Soon we will meet on that bright and golden shore. There we'll be happy and free from all sorrow. There's where we'll meet and we'll never part no more.
There's where this old darkie's life will pass away. Massa and Mrs. have long gone before me. Soon we will meet on that bright and golden shore. There we'll be happy and free from all sorrow. That's where we'll meet and we'll part, never part no more. How does that represent the state of Virginia?
It represented it perfectly. I mean, because, you know, again, the part of what we had prior to the show, you know, Douglas Wilder, that was sung, you know, where he was governor and so forth. Mm-hmm. And in part, you know, he couldn't believe it. But, I mean, I could believe it because in part they were saying, look, we're going to let you know. Of course, he was the first black governor elected post-Reconstruction in the old Confederate South. It's like, look, we're going to let you know. You may have got here, but this is still our Virginia.
Well, and what I'm going to play for you, this clip from Doug Wilder. He had just become a legislator, and he went to a dinner. And at the dinner, everyone broke into this song, singing "Oh, Take Me Back to Old Virginia." This is how he responded.
So I drove around the city about 45 minutes that night because I just couldn't get myself together. And I said, this is the state song of Virginia. I can't believe it.
Wilder's first act as a lawmaker was to sponsor legislation changing the state song. His effort failed, but Wilder says his floor speech had an immediate effect.
No one anywhere ever sang that song again, period. So what I was trying to say to the people who tried to effect change, you don't have to wait for an army.
So you don't have to wait for an army. He spoke up. When you hear that, Teddy, what do you think?
I'm thinking about the desensitization. You know, it's so easy to try to make something beautiful, but I remember a quote from Dr. Maya Angelou saying you can't put poison in a Bavarian crystal and call it something different. It's still poison. You know, so I think we do that with a lot of things, you know, including that you make it beautiful, you know, and it creeps in subtly, you know, just that's how we get them.
It's another form of microaggression. Would you say?
Micro.
I was going to say it's pretty blatant.
I mean, you want to be nice about it. I mean, but again, just to finish my thought previously before the clip from Governor Wilder, is that until you have been a person that have tried to approach the power structure and obtain a piece of that power structure or change the power structure, you have no idea of the pressures and the blatant disrespect that comes toward a person like that. So that song represents a power structure in this particular state. Every jurisdiction has their own power structure and so forth, but that song represents the power structure in this particular state of a lot of individuals who have power. Now, a lot of people may say, oh, I don't feel that way. And that may be true. But it is a song that represents a structure in which you benefit from and others do not.
And what's so interesting, though, is that it is a song emeritus. They didn't remove it from being the state song. What emeritus means is that, as a matter of fact, the definition says emeritus, retired or honorably discharged from active professional duty, but retaining the title of one's office or position. So it stays and remains Virginia's state song. Dr. Janira.
Yeah, that's such a good point you make when it represents the power structure, because he says he tries to get this song removed and it doesn't work. He's not successful. And it made me think of a conversation I had with my really great, brilliant students at Norfolk State University when the whole blackface controversy came up. And my students' response was, this is Virginia. Like, you know, I'm expecting something like this to happen. This is Virginia. So I was kind of shocked by that comment. But you said this represents Virginia.
Yeah. If you're just joining us, we're examining how song lyrics play into the conversation about race in our country with performers Sibel Galindez and Teddy Holmes of Zeider's American Dream Theater and historians Dr. Eric Claville and Dr. Janira Teague. Join our conversation at 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Did you sing any of these songs to your children? Were you aware of the history behind the songs that we've been talking about? Give us a call and let's talk about it. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. So what do we do with this? I mean, are we supposed to take these songs now and change the lyrics and forget about the past and, you know, make it nice and pretty and continue to sing them to our children? Do we tell our children what the true history is? What do we do with this? What do you think, Dr. Teague?
I think you have to have the uncomfortable conversation and discuss what these lyrics mean. I think we should stop singing songs. I mean, at the least you can change the lyrics, but stop singing them. They have such a horrible history. And I don't know if you can change them enough where you get rid of that horrible history. So I think we need to start having this really uncomfortable conversation, talk about what this really means, and also what's so important is, and then discuss how we can get positive images, positive music, and discuss, you know, we need to have something positive. We can't ignore it. We need to talk about it and move on in a positive direction.
Okay. Do we tell our children? Like, for instance, Eric, and one of the article that I was reading about the ice cream song, the author of that article was saying, okay, do I ruin it for my kid that just wants to run and grab a popsicle and tell him the true history, or do I wait? You know, and he said, from a parental perspective, I decided to let him enjoy his ice cream, and I didn't deal with it.
Right. From a parental side, my wife and I are very candid and transparent with our children. We tell them what life is, and we're very candid about our lives because we don't want them to go out into the world blindsided. Okay, as two young African-American young men, they have to understand that there is a difference and so forth. Don't change what you do, but just be cognizant and understand. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm always a believer in truth. And, you know, truth is the best medicine for anything, because at least you start from a ground zero, a solid foundation. You can work up from there. I think that the blackface controversy with our governor, attorney general, and the yearbooks in Virginia and so forth, very, very recently, by the way, shows, I think it happened at a perfect time in our history in this country. We're celebrating, well, not celebrating, but we are recognizing the 400-year commemoration of the first arrivals of the first Africans who were slaves. And then, of course, there was some history about when they were released as indentured servants and so forth, because there was no law really categorizing individuals like that. But they were slaves when they came here, and they worked as slaves. So with that being the case, I think that if we do not, and I think Virginia has the power, and I'm on record in saying this, we have the power to really change not just, the history in this our Commonwealth, but also our country and the world, because blackface and how we demean people of African descent was really the first export of America. When you look at the black faces around the country and the characters that are celebrated in various cultures, this research has recently have come up since the blackface controversy here. But moving forward, I think a commission has to be created. We have to have this conversation. And part of that commission is just not talking about it, but action. We have to look at the laws and public policies that are still on our books. We have to condemn them, and we have to remove them, and we have to replace them with laws and public policy to help remedy the damage created by those laws and public policy that were put in to oppress.
Again, back to the systemic, changing the system, and the institutional racism that's been going along,
and put those individuals on record that vote against it and say, "I'm not doing it." And why? And you're going to have to articulate your reasoning why. Once we show this was wrong, this is why it was created. Why? Just like General Lee, Robert E. Lee, he said, after the Civil War, it was a mistake. The Confederate War was a mistake, and no statue was created while he was alive. It was only after he was dead that they started to erect, the losing side started to erect these statues to commemorate the visual image of this power structure that they felt they still needed and wanted to hold on to.
The phones are lit up, so let's go to the phone. Joey joins us from Newport News. Hi, Joey. You're on the air.
Hey, good afternoon, y'all. Good conversation.
Thank you.
Definitely enlightening. Just listening to the lyrics of the Emeritus song just blows my mind that it could actually still be considered emeritus, considered anything. It just goes to show that, unfortunately, the old establishment still holds holds a lot of power, and it's sad, but hopefully 25 years from now we won't be having this conversation.
Yeah, let's hope. Thank you. Anybody want to react to Joey?
Let's hope 5 years. Let's hope a year. Let's hope we can start tomorrow.
Okay. Jeff joins us from Virginia Beach. Hi, Jeff. You're on the air.
Hey, Barbara. How are you today?
Doing good. How you doing?
Good. My praise to all of your guests for their courage in bringing this to light for us all. I think my frustration lies mainly in the perspective of the songs, the audacity of you to write a song from an slave perspective with the sound of contentment in their situation. It frustrates me and angers me more than anything else.
Okay, I'm going to let the performers respond to that, Teddy. I mean, because he's right. I mean, that this is someone else who does not have the enslaved person's experience writing songs about them.
That says a lot about the lack of respect, for one, but the fact that we're not only viewed as the entertainment at some point with the pellets going at our feet, but they can also take our experience that was not a good experience and then make an entirely different, scenario of that and present it in a way that's like, oh, this is.
Sibel, I'm curious from a white person's perspective. When you see that, you hear that, and recognize that that's the perspective that these songs are coming from, even though they're not written by enslaved people. What does that?
Right. I just feel like now, once again, the arts are such a rich environment to have this conversation, right? So now I want to explore that idea even more, that really great comment from the caller, that, who are we to dare to put our voice on the enslaved person? That's not right.
Well, and to further that out a little bit too, the whole idea of whether we should change the lyrics or not change the lyrics and so forth. I mean, who gets to make that decision too? Because is it right for us to censor? I guess is my point. Dr. Teague.
I think you absolutely can censor hateful language, and during the time period when these songs were written, this was acceptable. This is what was going on in America. Some of those songs were written after around the time of the rebirth of the Klan and birth of a nation, and during a time where we have these studies that are actually the majority of America is showing that there's studies, and they're trying to say these studies are showing that Black people are naturally inferior. And so there was the time when these were written, that was acceptable, but we're not in that time anymore. So we need to do something about it now. So it's okay for us to say we can't sing these songs anymore, or we need to change the lyrics, because we need to do something to get away from that.
Okay. Eric, did you want to?
Yeah. Very quickly, we should not change the lyrics to these songs, because if we do that, we'll start to, excuse the pun, but whitewashing, these songs. We need to understand and know what the original song said and the meaning behind them, the time period that was created, to use it as a teaching tool, that we don't create these same mistakes moving forward. And again, African Americans, Black people, you've got bookends when it relates to classism and also racism, and white and Black are the bookends. But you got all these groups in the middle. Native Americans very not too far behind. We haven't even started to peel back the layers in dealing
10 Little Indians.
Oh, I'm telling you. I mean, just so many offensive songs that even African American children sang that we didn't know. Exactly. That it was hurting these individuals.
I think that's the thing that bothers me the most is the fact that we as African American people are singing these songs and passing these down without understanding the true meaning behind it. And that just really causes me pause.
Can I speak to that very quickly?
Sure.
With that point, you do have in society where the lower class is looked upon as being the ones you can step on. And if you do so, you're accepted by the higher class, right? So if you demean your own people, as African American, you demean your own people, you're thought to be, okay, he's a good guy, this good Joe, that particular person. If you're seen to be one to speak up for you people, oh, that's a bad one right there, or stay away, he's a troublemaker. And nobody wanted to be categorized by that. It also boils down to what the professor stated earlier, the psychological damage that you have. One thing that slavery did and post-Reconstruction did, Jim Crow, it created a slavery of the mind and the mindset to believe that Black is wrong and white is right. And that anything someone Black does, oh, look at him, all he do is just play basketball. If someone white does it, oh, look at that great athlete. Those type of things. Automatically, you start to think these things and you start to perpetuate it in your own life and pass these things down subconsciously, but they have an overreaching, overarching effect upon your life and generations ahead.
Yeah. Let's talk to Heather in Virginia Beach. Hi, Heather. You're on the air.
Thank you. Children do know right from wrong at an early age, and they have to be carefully taught to hate and fear. And on our playground with no adults around, by age 5 and 6, we said, we're not going to do this eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch another person or child by the toe, because that's mean and cruel. So we shifted to 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, 4, and they were potatoes. And we knew the difference. And I also want to have as a positive image the grand Diana Ross. Reach out and touch somebody's hand, make this world a better place, because we were raised very well that red and yellow, black and white, we are all precious in God's sight. And unfortunately, the prominent racist of the founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, quote unquote, scientifically had proof, excuse me, shame on him, against an entire race of human beings.
Thank you, Heather. We so appreciate your call. Heather gets very, very emotional when she listens, because she listens to the show and she calls in quite a bit. You want to respond, Sibel?
Yeah, I think, and it's Heather actually used a lyric, and not to give too much away, but there is a song tomorrow, if I might. So songs can also teach us right. So there's a song from South Pacific, You've Got to Be Carefully Taught. And I guess I'm a little emotional too, because this is something we all want to change. And we all want to take responsibility for.
You know, Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo, she brought up, which was the actual words originally, even though people have changed them. And when I was growing up, it became tiger. Okay.
Yeah.
Catch a tiger by the toe. But the original words, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a nigger by the toe. If he hollers, let him go. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Or it was catch a Negro by his toe. If he hollers, make him pay $20 every day. Which is no better as far as I'm concerned, but that's that's another.
Now you put him in debt prison.
That's it. That's another thought. Absolutely, but again, this whole idea of us being able to be aware, as the kids say, stay woke, but to be aware of what this does. Now, in the show tomorrow, you also are going to talk about some songs that bring us together. Correct?
Definitely. Yes.
You can talk about that.
Okay. Well, I'll just say, so there is that beautiful song, You've Got to Be Carefully Taught, and Teddy and I sing that together. And then what are some other uplifting songs?
Some other uplifting songs, or songs that kind of chronicle a little bit of our experience. I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free. Nina Simone. There's a song called Work that I think goes into the depths of the darkness that we walk. I don't want to say that word. The heaviness the trial that we walk through as African American people. But then we also have Ease On Down the Road, some fun songs, So we're not, making it like, we're just gonna cover it with this good stuff. It's an experience,
Well, we're looking forward to it, and we hope that you decide to join us tomorrow from 1 to 4 at Zeider's American Dream Theater, and we will continue this conversation there. But to start to button up our conversation here today, what would you advise young parents today?
To be educated about the topic, to know the history of these songs, and like I said before, to have the uncomfortable conversations, and this might mean to eliminate these negative songs, make sure you're not singing them in your household, but also always making sure that you're singing positive songs, and beyond positive songs, showing your children positive images. It's not just what you hear, but also what you see that's so powerful. So I think it's going in that opposite direction.
Eric, why is music so important in terms of being a part of our culture, in terms of raising our families? Why is music so critical?
Well, if you think about music itself, my wife is a big praise and worship person, and music itself brings in the presence of God. Right? Mm-hmm. David in Scripture would play music to calm Saul, the evil, well, he wasn't evil king, but he was the king, King Saul. But music is very important because it brings spirits, it brings moods, if someone wants to say that, moods into an atmosphere, right? If you want to become romantic, you play a romantic song. If you want to have a revolutionary moment, you play a revolutionary song. So those things are powerful because it changes the atmosphere. And every single moment in my life, I can put a song to it, right? Where was I when that was playing? And then memories start to come. Memories start to develop, and I start to react to that. And I will make this point moving forward. I agree with the professor stated. We have to be educated by the songs, because a lot of people don't know. They just don't know the history of the songs. So be educated about it and have the honest conversation. But moving forward, these songs we're talking about were 150 years old. They still are
here
in our society. I have trepidation. I pause with the popular culture music that's moving forward, more specifically hip hop. There's a segment of hip hop that has started about 20 years ago or more that creates negative images of African Americans moving forward. And I think that we're going to have the same conversation about those type of music. Even Elton John, his song Island Girl and other songs and Kung Fu Fighting. These were 1970s songs, the songs that Mick Jagger and them played and so forth. All these had negative connotations, but I think that we're going to have a conversation very soon about the what the music industry allows to come out that African Americans are perpetuating amongst them own selves.
Okay, that's a whole nother show.
That's a whole nother
that's
show.
a whole nother conversation that we are going to have moving forward. But I have a question for the two of you since you're the performers. This was from a listener who called in but didn't want to go on the air. She wanted to know, what do we do about plays like Porgy and Bess? Not perform them? From a performer's perspective, what do you say?
Well, I have to admit, thank you, caller, because we thought about that too. So I'm not quite sure what the answer is. I think as a performer and artist, though, I want to explore that question. So that's what this whole conversation has led me to believe, is that as an artist, let's take a look at what we're doing. And that's a great question to explore.
Yeah, and I think that, as it was said earlier, we can, look at it from a educational perspective and always have it, as something that we can refer back to, but it's not all of who we are. It doesn't say, everything that we are.
I noticed that there are a lot of plays and so forth. I actually will be moderating a conversation after the Bluest Eye that's at the Wells. That's coming up the 10th of March. But does putting things in context like that help? In other words, do the performance, but then have conversation about the context of where it comes from and what it means and what's going on. Is that necessary, do you think?
Very necessary, I think, because you have some people that'll just, they'll be entertained, or some people that have no mission whatsoever. They're just coming to a show. I'm just coming to, So I think it's always necessary to explore and kind of wake up the minds.
Okay, we have a minute and a half left, and I'm going to throw something out there that's going to drive y'all crazy because we have no time to talk about it. But is there ever a point where we overanalyze? And should it just be entertainment?
No. Easy answer.
Okay.
No.
Sibel Galindez from Zeider's American Dream Theater, and who will be performing tomorrow during our Race Let's Talk About It conversation. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you,
on
Barbara.
that. Teddy, should we just let it go?
No, don't let it go.
Don't let it go.
It's
Teddy
worth
Holmes, you'll be able to hear him sing tomorrow at the Zeider's American Dream Theater from 1 to 4. Come out and join our conversation, and thank you for our conversation
Thank
today.
you. You're very
Dr.
welcome.
Eric Claville, we got 45 seconds. Say bye.
Thank you so much for having me. God bless. Have a good night.
Eric will be one of our experts during our conversation tomorrow afternoon. And finally, Dr. Janira Teague. First of all, welcome to Hampton Roads. We're happy to have you, and we're happy to have you here. And she also will be joining us tomorrow during our conversation. So if you'd want to come out, if you'd like to continue this conversation and also see a wonderful performance, we'd love to have you. Thank you so much, and we will be right back.
I'm with Marcellus, and you all are checking out Another View. Don't go anywhere. Check us out.
And welcome back. The Associated Press calls him one of the world's leading bel canto tenors. Lawrence Brownlee definitely has a gift, and this talented singer will take center stage this weekend at Norfolk's historic Addicts Theater with a concert that's sure to wow the audience as he belts out songs ranging from operatic classics to Negro spirituals. Brownlee recently spoke to our Lisa Godley about the path that took him from singing solos at church to the Metropolitan Opera.
Lawrence Brownlee was just 12 years old when he first realized he had a gift.
I remember singing a solo in church, and the response
from that solo was so overwhelming that it shocked me. It made me embarrassed. It embarrassed me, and I just thought, why are these people reacting this way? But it was then that people told me that I had something uniquely special about my voice, and I should keep singing. So I think it was a young age that people took notice of my instrument, my voice, and it was a wake-up call for me then.
His awakening led him to the middle school band and chorus, but it wasn't until college that the Ohio native was exposed to classical music.
It was then that someone told me, wow, your voice is absolutely perfect to sing opera, so you should pursue it. So opera came later, and I thought I was going to pursue law, but I had several people to encourage me to say, you know, you don't need to be practicing law. You need to be singing opera on the stages of the world.
Brownlee says there aren't any routines or rituals that he performs before a concert.
I remember when I was in grad school and I went to play basketball one day before a show, and I realized that my voice and my body was so awake. It used to be a time where I wouldn't speak until about 2 o'clock in the afternoon if I had a show. And I found out that I couldn't get my body to wake up. I just felt like I was lethargic, and it was trying to force something that didn't want to go. I decided then, wow, it's just a normal day. I have a very take your lunchbox to work mentality about singing. I treat it like any day. Pavarotti said that he had 2 perfect days of singing in his life, and on neither one of those days he had shows.
When Lawrence Brownlee performs at Hampton Roads, he'll share the stage with another powerful voice, his friend, bass baritone Eric Owens.
We come and we do this show that is varied. It's everything from opera to spirituals to American popular song to even a little bit of gospel. Funny, sad, everything in between. So it's something that I think the people will appreciate. We've already done it a few places, and it's been so wonderfully received. So we're looking for the same thing in Hampton Roads.
For Another View, I'm Lisa Godley.
Wow, that's just an incredible voice, was it not? Oh my goodness. Lisa got us out a little bit early, y'all, so turn their mics back on. Lawrence Brownlee will share the stage with bass baritone Eric Owens on Sunday, March 3rd at 7 p.m. at the Addicts Theater. Sounds like a awesome performance. Indeed. So what do you want? Sibel and Teddy, what do you want people to think about as they come into the theater tomorrow to join the conversation? What do you want? What do you want them to think about ahead of time? Is there anything?
I genuinely would love them to think about questions that they have, and also to think about what is it that I'm not doing, or what is it that I could be doing to contribute to forward.
Okay. What about you, Sibel?
I think what I want them to think about the most is just come with an open heart and open mind, and know that the theater is a really great and safe place to have this event and conversation.
Well, guess what? People are waiting on a waiting list.
Oh, really?
We are sold out. So it's going to be very exciting. And then from the academic perspective, what do you guys want people to think about?
I'm just grateful that they're going to come out and that they're making the first step by wanting to come and engage in this very important conversation and think about the next steps and what we should do about it.
Okay. And Eric?
And again, I don't want to underestimate the fact that it does take courage to face your demons. Even if they're generational demons.
Okay. Thank you so much, audience, for spending part of your Friday with us. If you'd like to hear this show again or share it with a friend, please visit our website, anotherviewradio.org, and download the podcast. You can also sign up for our eView newsletter, a once-a-week reminder of upcoming programs. Check us out on Facebook, and I'm on Twitter at Barbara Ham Lee. Next week on Another View, it's the Another View Roundtable, intelligent conversation about issues that matter. Our theme music was was composed and performed by Jay Sennett. Lisa Godley is our show producer. Todd Washburn is our audio engineer. And Jimmy Cooper answered our phones. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. We hope to see you at Zeider's American Dream Theater tomorrow at 1 as we continue our Race Let's Talk About It conversation through song. Thanks so much, everyone, for listening to Another View.